a university with wisdom and values. This is the place where all dreams and hope are conquered with the basis of Islamic values, valuable knowledge, science, independency, maturity, and friendliness towards its objection to perfection, being the part of global community. Welcome to International Program, Department of Industrial Engineering, Faculty of Industrial Technology, Universitas Islam Indonesia. International Program Undergraduate Program was established in 1999 under Department of Industrial Engineering, Faculty of Industrial Technology, Universitas Islam Indonesia as responsive response for challenging global competition. A place with international exposure, distinguished lecturers, and sophisticated learning atmosphere. A place where ideas and thoughts are actualized to tremendous design, outstanding research, and remarkable products as its contribution to environment and global community. This study program is accredited A from the National Accreditation Board and AUNQA certified for its curriculum. Teaching and learning processes, research and community service have been equipped with various adequate facilities and laboratories. There are 6 laboratories: Integrated Manufacturing System Laboratory, Organizational Innovation and Development Laboratory, Enterprise Resource Planning Laboratory, Work System Design and Ergonomics Laboratory, Data Mining Laboratory, Modeling and Industrial Simulation Laboratory. These laboratories provide students with skills and specialties in product planning and control, as well as production floor management, designing, producing, assembling products, calculating inventory and the number of workers, scheduling, implementing product control, and others. This laboratory focuses on areas of industrial systems innovation and management, such as corporate design analysis, organizational development, marketing system design, and business feasibility study. This laboratory provides skills and specialties about enterprise resource planning. The learning process is supported by the SAP system and has been a part of the SAP University Alliance since 2005. The SAP University Alliance provides opportunities for students to access learning materials, participate in SAP academic forums, and certification of participation that is recognized nationally and internationally. This laboratory provides skills and specialization in the application of work system design application concepts in order to achieve a certain level of productivity, ergonomics, and aspects that influence it, especially psychological and environmental aspects. The laboratory focuses on analyzing and designing a work system and/or work tool to be ergonomic, safe, comfortable, and healthy. This laboratory provides skills on the use of various methods of multiple criteria decision-making, data mining, and statistics to solve problems in the industrial world. Modeling and Industrial Simulation Laboratory provides skills and understanding of the definition of models, types of models, to create simulation based on real systems. The International Program of Industrial Engineering has maintained and expanded the international collaboration as the effort for the global acknowledgement to provide students with global experiences, exposures, and mobility. The program has also worked with big companies in Indonesia and abroad. Students are also accommodated with international certification to develop student skills to achieve designated expertise. International program exposes students with international experience, culture, and environment as a part of global community. As a sustained effort to sharpen students' capability in certain expertise, the internship is represented as the program that could fulfill the curiosity of a real-life working environment. Community of international students is established to encourage students with soft skills, organization, and teamwork activities. All activities in the international program are beautifully framed under the noble Islamic values with the ultimate guidance of Al-Quran and Hadith.
International Program Industrial Engineering.
Be smart,
be agile,
and be global.
Alright, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to day 2 of Sustainable Products and Supply Chain for the Circular Economy webinar. First, let's open this webinar by reciting Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hopefully, today's Sustainable Product and Supply Chain for the Circular Economy webinar can run smoothly. And then to shorten the time, please introduce myself. My name is Kinan Wiraprasta, a student on an Industrial Engineering International Program as the Master of Ceremony in this morning. On this special webinar, we will have several agenda as follows: opening and the main session, quiz, Q&A, photo session, and closing. And before I pass it to the moderator, I would like to tell you that all the participants have a chance to win the best question, and there will be a prize for the best question this morning up to 1 million rupiah for 10 people. So if you have a questions regarding the material, please prepare your question for the Q&A session. Thank you very much. And for the next session, it will be more exciting, and it will be moderated by Dr. Engineering Melinda Fitriani Nur Makfiroh, ST MBA, until the session ends. Therefore, I apologize if there are any mistakes. See you guys on the next agenda. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And Miss Melinda, time is yours.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Kinan. So, welcome, Professor Zuraida, and welcome all the participants. So, yesterday we have learned regarding some of the knowledge about how we can design sustainable product from the beginning to end of life. And today we will focus our webinar on the evolution of supply chain for environmental sustainability. So as we probably already know, the conventional organization of supply chain itself is previously is linear. It means it involves the sequence from supplier, manufacturer, distributor to the consumer or user. But we know that the concept of circular economy itself can help the system, including the supply chain system, to be better by minimizing the input of resource as well as minimizing the generation of waste. And today, Professor Zuraida will help us to understand better regarding that and how we actually can have a sustainable supply chain and its relation with the circular economy itself. Please welcome Professor Zuraida, and time is yours, Professor.
Right. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and selamat pagi.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, terima kasih ya Master Ceremony, Mr. Kinan, our MC, and to Dr. May as the moderator this morning. This is our second day today, and Alhamdulillah, we are here together to learn, and also to exchange knowledge. It's not just a one-way communication. It should be a two-way between the speaker and the students as well. So it'll be more interactive and be more interesting. Okay, for today, I will continue with sustainable supply chain. Yesterday, we talked about sustainable product design, and I think these two elements are very interrelated. In order to make sure that your supply chain is sustainable, you have to make sure that your product is sustainable first. That's the first thing that you do. It has to be sustainable to the environment, and then you enforce that to your supply chain, and to make sure that you contribute in one way or another to the sustainability of the environment or the nation. There are many sort of pushing factors that we discussed yesterday, but again, it has to come from the individual. It has to come. The awareness must come from the industry. And now is the time for you to take the necessary steps to actually contribute, because this effort has started many years ago. It was actually quite slow at the start. Even in Malaysia now, we are still progressing to a certain level. It may be quite good for some multinational company in terms of commitment, but for the SME, the small and medium industry, they are still at the initial stage, or perhaps have started some initiatives on sustainable development, on green practices. Okay, at least we start with green practices, and then we go into the other elements of sustainability. by right, these three elements of sustainable pillar must be hand in hand, must be together, yeah, so that it's easier for you to actually plan, yeah, for sustainable development if you incorporate awareness on human, on social aspect, as well as the returns to the organization. Yeah, okay. So without further ado, I will proceed with the sort of talk or webinar on sustainable supply chain for today. Can you see the slides?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yeah, all right. Thank you, Dr. May. I will proceed, yeah. Okay, so for today, we will talk about basically in general information about supply chain and how it contributes to sustainable development. Yeah, so, but there are many terms on supply chain, related to supply chain, that we have seen so far. It progresses very rapidly, quite rapidly, yeah, with different terms, but sometimes the meaning are actually talking about how to make it friendly to the environment, yeah, basically. Okay, so today I will just discuss what is supply chain, what is the evolution of supply chain, what are the strategies to go about developing sustainability in supply chain, what are the challenges that lies ahead, not just for the industry, but also for the country, to actually move or motivate the industry. Okay, so the content of my presentation would be some of the terms and definitions of supply chain, and how the supply chain affects the environment, how the supply chain contributes to SDG and circular economy. We have discussed this yesterday, how product design, sustainable design contributes towards SDG and circular economy. And then what are the components of supply chain? I think we are quite well aware what are the components of supply chain. The evolution of supply chain, objectives, benefits and strategies of supply chain, barriers and risks in supply chain, steps to a greener supply chain, and how to build a sustainable supply chain. Okay, I just took one definition of a supply chain by Turan Pak Soy in 2011. It is a set of activities that includes purchasing, manufacturing, distribution, marketing, that perform the function of delivering value to end of life of the product. Just let me check this. To end customer, sorry, it's not end of life of the product, it's value to end customer. So there's a chain of sort of people or organization that is involved in a supply chain, and it involves distribution, logistics, transportation, in order to deliver the product to the end customer. If we read papers about related to supply chain, we will today find topics such as green supply chain, closed loop supply chain, reverse supply chain, reverse logistics. These are some of the terms that we can easily come across when we read papers about sustainable supply chain. Okay, and then of course on sustainable supply chain, and there is also a focus on supply chain on the halal, halal supply chain. This is also a very active area of study at the moment. Even in Malaysia, there is an academician or lecturer also looking at halal supply chain. Okay. Actually, there are a few academicians in my department who are focusing on supply chain. I can actually share information about them later on with Dr. May, if we need to sit together and maybe discuss about potential areas of research and so on. Okay. So this is actually the pillars of sustainability. It started with the Brundtland report in 1987. They talk about the three elements of sustainability, which is the social aspect, environmental, as well as the economy aspect. These are the three pillars. So the purpose of managing a supply chain effectively is to ensure that it reduces lengthy product development cycles, from manufacturing to delivery, reduce development costs. Where can you actually reduce costs? Because if you manage to reduce the cost of your product during development, you'll be able to offer cheaper products, and therefore you can compete better in the market, because the market is very competitive. So you cannot simply reduce your costs without looking at the whole supply chain. And then to improve quality. These are the main targets of a supply chain, the technical sort of focus of a supply chain. And this is very much in line with the concurrent engineering product development concept. Concurrent engineering was actually established in the 90s. The aim is to improve quality, to reduce product development lead time, and at the same time to reduce costs. So basically every sort of all effort by the industry, no matter what the strategy is or the approach, it is always these three important elements. Talking about concurrent engineering concept, they have been talking about effective communication, the use of enabling technology to support human in making decisions, and that has actually existed in the 90s. And it was actually coined by the US after the Second World War, when they noticed that the Japanese, the Asian countries, have actually outrun them. The Japanese are more efficient in terms of product development, and many other countries in Asia. So they somehow did a study, and found out that they lack in terms of communication between product development teams, in which the designers would normally just design the product, and then send it to manufacturing without getting any proper feedback from the manufacturing side. And therefore the design was not agreed upon by the team in manufacturing, and it was returned back to the design table, to the drawing board, and it goes back and forth, and that's what they call it over the wall product development. And because of this, the American were very sort of sad at that time, and they tried to solve the problem, and they coined the term concurrent engineering, meaning activities must be done simultaneously, in parallel, from the early stage of product development. So target was concurrent engineering was to improve communication, to make sure the use of proper enabling technology to support communication and decision making, and at the end of the day is to focus on these three: reduce product development cycle, reduce development costs, and improve quality in all their product design as well as the supply chain. So, but now with growing concern on the impact of the environment, because we know that our resources are depleting, there's a lot of gas house emission, GHG, gas emission affecting the environment and so on. So now we have moved towards emphasis on the environment, the social aspect, and at the same time not forgetting, of course, the economic returns to the industry, to the country. Okay. So how does supply chain affects environmental sustainability? There are many ways. Maybe your industry, for example, may be affecting the industry or not managing properly toxic waste, maybe. And you do a lot of deforestation. That has a lot of impact already to the environment. But these are some of the effects that can be causing a lot of problems to the environment, to the ecosystem, from just manufacturing alone, from manufacturing and production. If you look at these items one by one, there's toxic waste. How do we actually handle this waste? The country may have the right act or legislation to handle toxic waste. In Malaysia, we have Schedule Waste Act, and in order to make sure, yeah, that the industry comply with this kind of act, yeah, to handle toxic waste, then there's a lot of sort of penguatkuasaan, yeah, necessary from the government, which is at the moment is still quite lacking, yeah, in my country. Yeah, last 2 years, I think there was a big news about waste being just sent to the normal, I think, river, yeah, without being treated, and it caused a lot of health problems, yeah, in Johor Bahru at that time. I think it was about 2 years ago. Yeah, the waste were not treated properly. Yeah, the person who, the industry or the company who handle waste did not actually treat the waste and just throw them, yeah, dispose them into the river, yeah, without being treated. So because of that, schools, yeah, office, yeah, were even closed during that time when people have got problems, breathing problems, yeah, sukar bernafas, and hospitalized, yeah, because of that. Okay, so that affects the social side of not managing toxic waste, yeah? And then water pollution, this when you throw or dispose chemicals or toxic waste into a river and oceans, for example, seas, then it will cause water pollution. And of course, the impact will be on the ecosystem. Yeah, life underwater, yeah, will be affected. And life underwater is one of the target of SDG. Yeah, so it has to be managed properly. Loss of biodiversity, yeah, when there's a lot of development going on, there's a lot of deforestation, for example, yeah, or other human activities, and then it will actually affect the habitat. You know, it's not just animal, yeah, plants, fungi, microorganisms, yeah, because this is actually the habitats they are working together to maintain the ecosystem. There's a balance and they support life of each other, yeah, and that can be affected if development is not managed properly. Yeah, it has been reported in our, I think in our newspaper, yeah, that because of human actually encroach into this habitat, yeah, somehow these animals, they're like wild animals, they will find new habitat, new areas, and there is many cases of conflict between human and wild animals. Yeah? It was reported that in 1 year, there are about 300 cases, yeah, but because of the rampant, yeah, development of some areas, the conflict, yeah, between wild animal and human, there are reported cases, about 1,200 cases. So because these animals have lost their habitat, their living place, yeah, so they move around, okay, and somehow they encountered human, yeah, and maybe encroach into villages, for example, yeah. So this is actually very dangerous, yeah. So these are some of the impact of not managing sustainability, so-called, yeah, in development. And then deforestation also quite similar, yeah, causing soil erosion, landslide, yeah, gas house emissions, yeah, green gas house emission, biodiversity losses, and flooding. Yeah. And then causing long-term damage to ecosystems. And then there's emission, yeah, to the air, hazardous gases. For example, if it is not managed properly, you will release, yeah, hazardous air to the atmosphere. And but the one that happened in Johor Bahru, yeah, the one I mentioned just now, it is actually from the water, from river, yeah, that can actually cause also breathing problems, yeah, and other health problems to school children. Many schools were closed at the time. Yeah? And then greenhouse gas emission, I think we come across this GHG many times. Yeah? These are basically carbon dioxide, methane gases, chlorofluorocarbon. Yeah? These gases, they actually absorb infrared, yeah, from the earth and sort of radiate it back to the earth. So they sort of absorb and capture, yeah, these gases, yeah, carbon-related gases, and return it back to the earth and causing warming, yeah, warming, and therefore you would need more energy, yeah, to cool down certain areas. We use a lot of air conditioning, for example, yeah. So these are the impact of greenhouse gases, and also the use of energy, yeah. Because of the instability in the environment, and also because we use high intensity energy, yeah, to produce some products, yeah, then it would actually affect the energy consumption. Yeah? And this is even more serious if we use non-renewable energy, yeah, in our daily life. Yeah? That's why some industries have now moved on to the use of solar energy or other sources like wind. Yeah? Even though wind may be more challenging to be sort of harvest, yeah? But solar energy is one of the options, good options in the Southeast Asia countries. Yeah? Okay. And again, we think about how sustainable supply chain, yeah, contributes to SDG and circular economy. I think by now we are quite clear about this. Yeah. If the supply chain is sustainable, well managed, yeah, then as I mentioned just now, we are not just talking about life on land. Yeah, we are also talking about maintaining life below water, healthy life for these fish and marine products and so on. Yeah, marine species. Yeah, and it also affects good health, yeah, and well-being of the society. And then it also helps with clean water and sanitation, yeah, affordable and clean energy. All these are related. Yeah, if we manage our supply chain, yeah, somehow it will affect all these SDG targets. Quite obviously, yeah, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. In order to be, we have to be innovative enough, yeah, to be creative and innovative in order to think, yeah, or to manage the industry. If I'm a manufacturer, yeah, I would set up a team, yeah, to actually look at all this possibility of implementing the green practices, yeah, not just in my product development, but also in my supply chain. Yeah, there are tools like LCA, life cycle assessment tool, yeah, like Gabi software, Sima Pro, Sima Pro software that can help you to actually analyze, the life cycle impact of your product. And even though it is not easy, yeah, I have to admit that it is not easy to get a very accurate, yeah, but you can actually do that by making some assumptions, yeah? And then some of the software, their database are actually very good, yeah. They can actually help you to sort of assess, yeah, what is the impact of your product, your process, yeah, from material extraction, yeah, until the end, until the product reaches end of life. Yeah. So a lot of information has to be collected if you want to be very sure of the impact. And this software would actually help you to identify where is your sort of pain point, or weak point, yeah, so that you can further improve, where to improve along the supply chain to actually reduce the impact to the environment. And yesterday we talked about a circular economy as well. Yeah, this is the loops, yeah, that can be the option, yeah, in your product development, whether you want to reuse them after end of life, or you want to refurbish and remanufacture, or you want to recycle them. These decisions will have a lot of impact on how you actually manage your supply chain. Yeah, Because if you don't have these strategies in your product development, then you stop at end of life disposal. Then you send your product to landfill or you do incineration. But if you decide on a closed loop supply chain, which involve all this activity, then you have to manage your supply chain in a different way. Okay. So this is just showing some of the components of a supply chain. What are the elements of the whole supply chain? And we know that suppliers, we look at the definition. A supplier is an entity that supplies goods and services to another organization. And then they supply to the manufacturer. So a manufacturer is a person or registered company which makes finished product from raw material in a bid to make a profit. This is a very business-oriented, as well as a supplier. They supply parts, component, materials to this manufacturer in order for the manufacturer to manufacture and do assembly, and sell the product. Okay. And then you have the wholesalers. The wholesalers buy large quantities of goods from manufacturers and sell them in smaller amount, for example, to shops. And then there's another element in the supply chain or component, which is a retailer. Retailer sells product to consumers through various distribution channels with the goal of earning a profit. And then the end is the customer, an individual or business that purchase another company's goods or services. Perhaps for their own consumption, or also for them to actually sell again. They buy from retailers and they sell again to small entities or customers. So if we look at this the whole supply chain, there are many organizations or many people involved in from making a product until it reaches the customer. In the past, if we talk about we call it cradle to gate. We talk about cradle to cradle, meaning when we supply the product to the manufacturer, the wholesaler, retailers, customers, when we talk about cradle to cradle, it goes back to the manufacturer. The loop goes back to the manufacturer because we want a closed loop, a supply chain. We call it cradle to cradle, but it can be a cradle to gate, in which it ends at the manufacturer, and there's no sort of initiative, no initiative in order to look at how the product has been impacting the environment, or to get information even from consumers, how best to actually improve the product. Okay. So there needs to be a strong or good collaboration between suppliers until the customers in order to manage a good supply chain. As a manufacturer, for example, I would be looking at, I will talk about this again, there's a slide on this. As a manufacturer, an ethical manufacturer that wants to contribute towards sustainable development, I would want to make sure that my suppliers has also some green initiatives in their organization. This has been an issue actually in some reported in some papers. Manufacturers sometimes they will enforce sort of green initiatives from their first-tier supplier, but there is a problem with the first-tier supplier to comply with that requirement because they are also having different levels of suppliers with them. The supplier themselves may have different levels, different tiers. And it is not easy to actually enforce that onto their suppliers if the suppliers are normally, not all, small or medium scale industry. Not all small and medium scale industry are not aware of green initiatives or green purchasing. But sometimes they may have limited resources and limited knowledge on how to go about to implement the supply chain in their green supply chain in their organization. So there are papers reporting on the dilemma or predicament or the problems that manufacturers face when they want to enforce green purchasing from their suppliers. And then the manufacturer will supply to the wholesalers or to the retailers after that, and it ends with the customers. So if you're talking about cradle to cradle or closed loop supply chain, then this loop has to go back to the, at least to the manufacturer. Okay, if you look at the evolution of supply chain, maybe you are the new generation that you were born, and then when you go to university or schools, you have been sort of introduced to green supply chain, or straight away sustainable supply chain. But for me, when I was a student, I see a lot of this supply chain targeting very technical issues. As I mentioned just now, is to reduce development cycle, to shorten the time, to reduce time from manufacturing to reaching customer, to ensure product is in good quality, talking about packaging, and then even the ISO standards. At that time, they focus a lot on packaging, distribution. There are standards requirements on that kind of aspect of product development. So they focus more on how to reduce costs, how to make sure that the product reaches the customer in a very good condition. Talking about time, money, and satisfaction of the consumers. But hardly they think about ecological effects of their activities. And then soon after that, there is this green supply chain, in which an integrated and ecological optimize and take into consideration human toxicology effects. They have started to sort of address toxicology effects, focus on eco-friendliness of raw material, process, product, and services of a supply chain. And then it progressed into sustainable supply chain, since I think the 80s with the Brundtland report in 1987. Initiatives were focused on these three elements, which are the three pillars of sustainability, which is environment, the economy aspect, and the social sustainability. So, and then this sustainable supply chain or sustainable development grow very fast, in some countries with policies and white papers, and in some European countries or advanced or developed country, the implementation is also quite fast. But in some parts of the world, it is quite slow, but picking up. And government play a very important role to sort of push, to make sure the industry and ministries take into consideration the circular economy, the targets of the Sustainable Development Goal, the SDG, incorporate that into practices. In banks, for example, when you want to make loans or funding, request for funding, you have to actually prove that you take into consideration all these sustainability issues. As I mentioned yesterday about the ESG standard, it is not only in Malaysia, not just in Malaysia, but at the international level, requirement on environment, social and governance has come into place in many documents, document for loan, for many other things, reporting of industry, and also it appears in our newspaper, several times. The Prime Minister actually talked about low carbon cities, and states, like Selangor. Selangor is one of the richest, actually one of the most active state in Malaysia with regard to industrial development. And they have started, the municipal council have started initiatives on low carbon city, giving award to industry, for example, on their initiatives, because the state where you have the highest industrial activity would obviously be the state with high carbon emission, and gas emission effect and so on. Okay. So a sustainable supply chain is one that fully integrates ethical and environmentally responsible practices into a competitive and successful model. There's a lot of models universities have developed. They do research, they come up with sustainable development model for specific industry. There are also papers talking about developing a model to actually represent a closed-loop supply chain, for example, how to go about further improving the performance. So nowadays, sustainable supply chain is no longer an option. It is sort of a must for consideration by the industry. The government may be a bit flexible, for some industry that have that wants to start, and have initiatives already, and they give award, for example, and they have initiatives also, to some of this industry, to sort of to encourage them, to look into this sustainable, not just product development, but also in the supply chain. So the objective of supply chain management, if we compare traditional supply chain to sustainable supply chain, the traditional is to minimize or optimize inventory. We do not want to sort of face high inventory costs. So there's a lot of studies on modeling supply and demand, just-in-time strategies, for example, and then to reduce the cost of supply chain, to ensure efficient delivery, not only to customers, but also to wholesalers, to retailers, and then to enhance flexibility in the supply chain. But we compare that with sustainable supply chain, we still have this at least these 4 bullet points, but we have to include environmental, social and economic and legal concerns across its entire supply chain. So this holistic approach will lead to reduction in waste and environmental footprint, improve labor conditions. This is very important issue. As I mentioned yesterday, there are at least 2 companies, there are a few others, 2 companies in Malaysia that has been, their supplier has been sort of rejected, declined at the port of some countries, because there are reports saying that they did not actually take care of their workers, the poor labor conditions, they work overtime, which is sometimes beyond the normal working hours of a normal worker. It is every day, they work long hours, and their poor condition of their accommodation, their hostel, for example. So somehow that report actually leaked, and reached this, it came to the knowledge of this country, and they sort of rejected the supply. It cost $1 million of losses to the manufacturers in Malaysia. But I heard one of the company, Top Glove, they have been sort of accepted now, because I think they have shown improvement, improvement in their social aspect, and their products now are being accepted into the country, receiving country. Okay, why sustainable supply chain? Industry's commitment towards, or not just industry, but government, the governance of the industry, or the ministries in our countries, they are pushing the industry towards the concept of circular economy, making them understand, and then a call for SDG goals, And then there are ESG standards, the one I mentioned yesterday on environment, social and governance standards. Yeah, they look at, it's not if they look at what are the standards. Yeah, what are the standards that the industry actually follow, yeah, in terms of labor, arrangement of whistleblowers, yeah, how is audit conducted, yeah, in the company. Yeah, so these are the role of the governance in the industry. So the ESG standard is also being emphasized by the admission government, yeah, at the moment. I noticed that it appears quite a number of times in the newspaper, yeah, and even the Prime Minister actually talks about ESG, yeah. And then this is another important pushing factor, yeah, for funding, for example, yeah, funding, corporate social responsibility, cross-border requirements, yeah. If they don't follow this, they will not be able to get funding, yeah. They cannot do business, yeah, and also they cannot sell their product overseas, yeah, because some countries, they are quite stringent in terms of requirements for sustainability, yeah. Steps to a greener supply chain. Yeah, I took this from a website, yeah, and I think it gives a very simple, yeah, simple but practical steps, yeah, to be initiated for a greener supply chain. Yeah, the first thing they propose is to redesign the product. Yeah. We are talking about sustainable product yesterday, so and we talk about 6R, yeah, from 3R. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Then we move on to 6R. We add recovery, redesign, and also remanufacturing. Yeah. Okay, because recycle is already in the 3R. So when we sort of be more advanced, yeah, the next step of the 6R, then we include remanufacturing, because remanufacturing is one of the most value-added recovery strategy, yeah, so far. So when we talk about redesigning the product, to make sure that we may be reducing the use of non-renewable material, for example, material that you have to actually do mining and so on, yeah. And these resources will be sort of depleted at one point, yeah. So we look at the material, the design, yeah, aspect of the product to facilitate sort of the recovery at the end. So when they suggest they reduce weight to make it easier to disassemble. So when you say you reduce weight, yeah, and you are talking about manufacturing lesser components, yeah, reduce weight, look at options of material, other material, and then the other option is to manufacture lesser component. Yeah, you may can also sort of combine parts and component, yeah, where necessary. If you go through or learn design for manufacturing and assembly, yeah, these are design for X strategy, yeah, in which you look at possibility of minimizing the number of parts in your product with strategy to reduce costs, yeah, and also to reduce assembly process. Yeah, the more assembly you need to do, the more components you have, the more costly is actually the development. Yeah, so you can actually redesign the product, try to reduce weight by making it easier to disassemble, because maybe you can combine parts and component. But again, yeah, when you talk about combining parts and component, you may have more than one function in that component, and that is actually integral architecture. Yeah, so you have to do some trade-offs, yeah, whether you want to stick with modular design or integral design, yeah, because there are design requirements, yeah, that may need you to opt for modular design or the integral design. Yeah, okay. And then reduce energy consumption and waste, yeah, throughout the product life cycle. Okay, this You will know this if you actually focus on looking at how your product can be improved. Yeah. And then eliminating components or ingredients so as to shorten the supply chain. This is very related to knowledge on design for manufacturing and assembly. Yeah. Okay. And then reconfigure your manufacturing. This is another approach, streamlining production steps. Look at the workflow, and try to minimize steps that does not that with non-value added steps in the manufacturing. That is actually a very important strategy, or activity for you to actually minimize waste. I think when you talk about streamlining production steps, we are talking about lean manufacturing. There are various strategies under lean manufacturing that can help you to reconfigure or look back at your manufacturing process and try to minimize a non-value added activity. And also it helps you to identify what are the energy and also the material that you use in your process. What are the auxiliary processes or materials that may not be necessary, but can be eliminated from the manufacturing process. Limiting the use of pollutants and toxic material. A good example is when you talk about manufacturing is machining. Machining in the past, they may use a lot of lubricant. The lubricant is to sort of to facilitate the manufacturing process, but it is very active now in research and also work related to machining. People focus on minimum quantity lubricant. There are strategies on how to minimize the use of lubricant, and also other strategies in machining, because machining, as you know, is a subtracting process. You may be generating a lot of waste, and also you use a lot of chemicals, and that will actually affect or somehow affect the environment in a way. But a lot of research is actually ongoing in improving all these steps or processes in machining. Okay. So another approach is to shift to green suppliers. As I mentioned just now when I showed the elements of the supply chain, from supplier to manufacturer to wholesaler to retailer and to customers. You have the sort of the power as a manufacturer, okay, to actually sort of impose or sort of enforce the need for green initiatives in your suppliers. So green supplier can have a big effect on the carbon implications of bringing products to the market. How products are being supplied, how it reaches your manufacturing company. This can be sort of discussed with your suppliers. What material do they use in their products? For example, because you are a buyer from the suppliers, then you should be able to identify or sort of assist the supplier if they are incapable of doing so, because they may be a small company, to advise them on green initiatives. So an analysis of alternative suppliers may uncover potential benefits that justify making a change, such as helping you meet government regulations or appealing to new categories of consumers. So at the end of the day, it boils down to communication, sharing of knowledge, data, on how to make it sustainable. I think there was a question yesterday, how do we start with sustainable development? But it requires culture, awareness, and attitude, towards sustainability, and that will sort of force you not just to focus internally within your organization, but also to your colleagues, to your suppliers, whatever knowledge you have to share with them. So there's another term, yeah, that is being coined, environmentally preferable purchasing, yeah, or green purchasing, yeah, which is defined as purchasing a product, yeah, that has a lesser or reduced negative effect or increased positive effect on human health and environment, yeah, when compared with competing products that serve the same purpose. For example, I want to buy parts from my supplier, and I want that part to be able to be recycled. It is a plastic part, yeah. It could be a PP, a polypropylene, yeah. And then, but so far my supplier supply material or sort of plastic type which is not easy to be recycled, or it is not a recyclable material. It could be some composites, for example. Well, we know that composites is the trend now, yeah, in advancement in material formulation, for example, yeah, composites, hybrid material, yeah. But at the same time, this kind of material is not easy to be recycled because it contains different material, yeah, blend together. And when you talk about recycling pure or virgin plastic, it is difficult or maybe impossible, yeah. But the trend now is moving towards this kind of material because of high durability, high strength. They are lighter, yeah, lightweight, and so on. Yeah, if there is a need for you to use this kind of material, then you have to ensure that this kind of material is durable enough. Yeah, it has a long life, yeah, so that it can be used for a longer time because it cannot be recycled. Yeah, and you should know how that kind of material can be sort of disposed. Yeah, you have to educate the user on actually how to dispose this kind of material. Because of advancement in technology, advancement in material, yeah, that's why there's a lot of impact to the environmental sustainability. Yeah? So there needs to be a trade-off between you want something to be easily recycled or reused and something that is high performance, yeah, during its useful life, but it cannot be recovered. Yeah, so that has to be sort of addressed, yeah, when we talk about green purchasing or sustainable development. Yeah, you have this sort of dilemma sometimes, yeah, because you want product to perform at the same time. This product may not be so friendly to the environment. So how do you actually address this? Yeah, so the procurement process considers raw material acquisition. Yeah, you acquire, you buy them. The production, fabrication, manufacturing, packaging, yeah, distribution, reuse, operation, maintenance, and disposal of the product. So when you talk about procurement of parts and components, yeah, or products, then you are actually looking at this whole process, yeah, until end of the life of the product. So this term includes sourcing recyclable products, if possible, recyclable products, reusable, yeah. And there are companies that offer recycled products. Yeah, it's not just recyclable. The product is already processed and it is a recycled product. Yeah, I will show one example of a company in Malaysia that actually sell products which are recycled. Yeah. Reusable products, and that company is not producing just one component, one or two components, but a broad application. Yeah, and then reusable products and products that conserve energy or natural resources. Yeah. Okay. This may look petty or simple. Yeah, but these are some of the ways or strategies, yeah, to shorten distance, yeah, from one entity to another. Yeah, so by rationalizing sourcing, assembly, and distribution in relations to market, travel distances and corresponding fuel use can be reduced. It's not just the distance, yeah, It's not just about fuel efficiency, but it is also about emission. Yeah, emission to the atmosphere when there's a lot of long haul, yeah, traveling of products. Yeah, it's not just the using trucks, yeah, but also aircrafts, yeah, emission to the atmosphere. Yeah. If you notice, yeah, if you actually go to some websites and to book air tickets, you will see that there's some additional, some reporting of which airline has the minimum, has contributed, yeah, to emission. Okay, I just noticed that, yeah, because we have not been sort of traveling for at least 2-3 years now because of the pandemic. Yeah? But now, I did not notice this before the pandemic. Yeah? But now I noticed that there is a sort of a sticker or a sort of maybe a promotion, yeah, of the airline, which has the least carbon emission. Okay, and they report the status of the emission, yeah, to the atmosphere. So they go to that extent, yeah, in reporting sustainability, even in airlines. Yeah. Okay. I remember many years ago, I attended a conference in, just to share with you, a conference, I think in Australia. Yeah. There was a speaker, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he's a keynote speaker. He did not actually, the other person is a man, yeah. He did not actually travel to the conference site. His reason being he does not want to contribute, yeah, to emission to the atmosphere. So some people, yeah, they are very concerned. An individual can be very concerned and did not refuse to travel, yeah, because he did not want, he said, to contribute to emission, yeah, to the air, to the atmosphere. so sometimes this kind of awareness or culture is embedded in one person, and they're playing a role, yeah, in this kind of issues, yeah, on sustainability and so on. I was quite surprised because that was many years ago. It's not recent, and if it is recent, I quite understand. Yeah, because in some countries, some individual, especially Australia, yeah, I noticed there's a lot of people that is very concerned about the environment, about the biodiversity, about the ecosystem, yeah. And it so happened that I attended a conference many years ago, and from their presentation, I see that their commitment, yeah, towards sustainable development is very high. The conference was a mix, yeah, not just manufacturing, but also with built environment, architecture, and so on. And the people in the architecture or the built environment, their awareness, yeah, and their suggestions, yeah, for improvement is somehow very amazing. Yeah. And it was like amazing, to see this kind of people, their contribution and their thinking, yeah, towards sustainable environment. This is just an example from the website. An American bath and kitchen product manufacturer reduced carbon emission 34% by relocating their warehouses, yeah, where they keep their products, yeah, warehouse, and without incurring additional costs. So this is an example of how you can contribute or reduce carbon emission by reducing a distance or transportation, or looking back at your logistics, yeah, of your product. Shrink packaging, yeah. A lot of research also I noticed in terms of improving packaging, yeah. A lot of report of papers, and I know some industries in Malaysia also, like Sony, yeah, Sony near my university in Bangi. I know because I know the student is actually as a master student has already completed, and he was actually talking about his section in Sony, working on how to improve packaging of their material for looking at possibly sustainable material. Yeah, at the same time, the challenge is to protect the product during transportation and distribution, but at the same time, they want to actually improve their contribution towards sustainable packaging. Yeah. So companies will look at new materials and design to allow them to make packages smaller and lighter. Yeah, vacuum pack, for example. Yeah, allowing shipping containers to hold more and trucks to carry more products in a load. Yeah, and then improve package design to reduce the burden of recycling. Also reduce the burden of recycling or eliminating packaging material at the end of the chain. We use a lot of cardboard and plastic normally as packaging material. So if it is plastic, then there is an option of biodegradable plastic, for example. Yeah? And if the product is somehow designed, the packaging is designed in such a way that you don't need very thick boxes, for example, yeah? Because you know that papers, yeah, when you want to produce papers, you are actually cutting a lot of trees, yeah, and therefore that will lead to deforestation. And how active are we in planting trees, yeah, to overcome issues of landslide, flooding, for example, due to deforestation. So a lot of companies are actually looking at how to improve packaging for sustainability, at the same time protecting their products, yeah, during distribution and transportation. So another step is to plan for reverse supply chain activity. Yeah, products that are reclaimed, yeah, from the market for an upgrade, refurbish, recycling, remanufacturing, or disposal require reverse supply chain. Yeah, and how products are originally designed, assemble, label, and package can have a profound effect on the efficiency of any reverse supply chain. I think we have discussed this a lot. Yeah. Okay. Actually, I wanted to share a slide from Loughborough University. It is in the public domain. It is not a new slide. Loughborough University, their design center, shares a lot of information, yeah, on sustainable product design, green design. I wanted to show that yesterday, but because of limited time, yeah, I have actually extended, yeah, more than the 2 hours. I wasn't able to show that, but if we have time after this, I can quickly go through the slides to give some idea what we mean by a green design, sustainable efforts, yeah, in not only product but also packaging. Yeah. If I have the time, yeah, Dr. May.
Sure, Professor.
Maybe I can show, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So these are some of the strategies for a sustainable supply chain. Yeah, you have heard a lot about closed loop supply chain. This is a very important. Yeah, there's a lot of research on this ongoing. Yeah, in universities throughout the world. Yeah, talking about closed loop supply chain, and it's not just about forward logistics but also the reverse. Yeah, in my university there is a lecturer, yeah, who the PhD is on reverse logistics. Yeah, so maybe if you want to get connected with Dr. Niza Royani, yeah, soon, I should be able to introduce you to her. Yeah, I think because I mentioned this because I think Dr. May has actually suggested that there is a discussion, yeah, between us, yeah, UKM, between University Islam Indonesia on issues of possible research in the future. So while talking about this, yeah, I will also introduce my colleagues, yeah, who are really working on this area. Yeah, her PhD is in reverse logistics, and she is currently looking at how a material can be recovered, yeah, value-added material in recycling, for example. Yeah, and so that is the work that she's working on at the moment. So reverse logistics is after the item has served its purpose, yeah, until when it is end of life. Yeah? This entails repairing, reselling, breaking down products for reuse and recycling, yeah? All with an eye to a chain that maintains and recovers value, yeah, for low impact and minimal waste. So when you talk about closed loop supply chain, it's not just about forward logistics, yeah, but most importantly is the reverse logistics, which is a component of a closed loop. Yeah? So basically, reverse logistics is returning of goods to sellers or manufacturers, yeah, by the customers, and to recapture, you know, or recover the value of the goods or the product. Yeah? In some developed countries, yeah, you should be able to get some payment, yeah, a small payment if you return the product. For example, if you return your toner or cartridges, yeah, so this recyclers, yeah, will actually give you some, will pay you, yeah, for some small amount. And also in countries like Germany, yeah, when you return your mineral bottle, for example, or plastic containers, yeah, you will be given some coupon, yeah, and you can actually use that coupons to purchase products in that mini market or supermarket. Yeah, so there are strategies, yeah, or techniques on how you want to sort of promote or encourage consumers to actually return their product. Yeah, otherwise they would just dispose, yeah, or just recycle and send it to the recycle bin. Yeah, like what we have in our country, in Malaysia. Yeah, people with sort of a good awareness will actually separate their plastic and paper at source when they want, before they throw it away. Yeah, but some with low awareness would just combine all this plastic, paper, metal, and send it to the trash, yeah, for it to be disposed. Yeah? So if there is some sort of initiatives, yeah, to make people actually return, that is very good. Yeah? Unless your community, yeah, is very, the level of knowledge or awareness is high, they may not want to, they don't need, yeah, this kind of sort of initiatives or for them to actually recycle or return their products, yeah, for the closed loop supply chain. The awareness or the culture is very important. Some countries, for example, for remanufacturing, yeah, I do not know the condition now, but in easily like 10 years ago, in US, there is no need for a policy, yeah, that asks people to remanufacture, yeah, or willing to remanufacture their product. So as opposed to the European Union, the EU, they have act legislation on end-of-life vehicle, yeah, that was, I think, established in the late 90s, yeah, and they put a target that by year 2003, for example, I forgot exactly, yeah, for example, by year 2003, 98% of the car has to be returned and recovered. Yeah, for example, to recycling, for example. Yeah, they have a proper ACTA or legislation in place. Yeah? But in US, I'm not sure about now, but 10 years ago, they don't have any act or legislation on remanufacturing, but the country, the industry are very active, yeah, in doing remanufacturing. So sometimes that depends on the culture or the awareness, yeah, of the society and also the industry. Okay. In Japan, for example, if you want, because they have this recycling act in place, when you buy a car, when you purchase a car, you have actually paid some small amount, not to say small, some amount, okay, that will be used to recover your car later on when it reaches end of life. So the consumers are sort of committed, they don't mind paying that amount, because they know that after a while, after 5 years or 10 years, if that is allowed in their country, 10 years, in Malaysia, you can go up to like 15 to 20 years, owning a car. Okay. And they know that they are paying, and at the end of the life of the product will be managed, handled in a proper way. So getting the consumers to be aware of these issues is actually very important. And of course, the government, the society, the university and the industry has to play their role in educating the people. So there are different ways or strategies to get people to return their product. It could be they being paid a small amount because they return, or before they purchase, they already pay and they know that, okay, once reaching end of life, they will need to return, and so on. Okay. So I've shown you this diagram yesterday, during sustainable product development. So these are the activities of a closed loop supply chain at the end of useful life. We talk about possibility of reuse, recycle, remanufacturing, and there are many terms like that can confuse not just the industry, but of course the public. Terms like refurbish, recondition, what else? Refurbish, recondition, repurpose. So these terms, they are very good actually. It describes what is the activity involved in each of these terms, but they can be part of a bigger recovery strategy like remanufacturing. For example, rebuild of engine, diesel engine in Malaysia. That is part of the activity of remanufacturing. And some of these companies, which I mentioned yesterday, has been certified as a remanufacturer. They also do a rebuild of their engine, rebuilding, bringing it to a better condition. But some of this activity, like recondition and so on, they do not actually reach the level of remanufacturing. Remanufacturing, there's a lot of activity that brings it to the level of original specification or even better. So that is the challenge in remanufacturing. Some companies may stop at the level of refurbishing, just refurbish, clean, and make it look as a new component, without going through proper disassembly, part component replacement, in a very detailed manner. You reassemble it again, you retest the whole system, and give a warranty which is more than what, which is lesser than what a remanufacturing component can offer. But that is common in the aftermarket industry. As long as it is improving the condition of product and lengthening the product life cycle, so that contributes to circular economy. So benefits of green or sustainable supply chain, it actually helps to reduce consumption of toxic chemicals, because you carefully consider where these kind of chemicals are used in your product or your process, and try to think of other options. There are other options of chemical that can serve the purpose, but they are not as toxic as the one that we have been using. Okay, reduce waste. Look at the workflow. Look at it's not just waste in terms of what you dispose of in the river and also ocean, but also the waste in steps, in terms of delivering the product. yeah, because each of these steps will somehow have a contribution towards the or adversely impact the environment. Yeah, sustain natural resources. Yeah, you have other options. Yeah, like for example, if you want to manufacture textile, yeah, we have a lot of options. It can be from oil-based. Yeah, it can be from natural resources. Yeah, it can be from cotton. It can be from wool. Yeah, it can be from silk. Yeah, but there's a lot of material nowadays. Yeah, that use which is oil-based. Yeah, so companies. Yeah, some companies are actually recycling textile. Yeah, recycling textile, and it becomes a different product. Yeah, and then it lowers costs. How does it actually lower costs? If you're looking at sustainable supply chain, yeah, it can be cost of transportation, yeah, because you reduce traveling, you have suppliers which are of closer proximity, for example, yeah, and then improve efficiency, yeah, you cut short the delivery, yeah. It's not just about efficiency in delivery, but also fuel efficiency. Yeah. And then product differentiation. We can have products with, we offer, when we actually study the supply chain and look at the product development, design, and material, then we can offer different products. Yeah. Product differentiation is a very important strategy, yeah, in order to capture the market. Okay, we have options of different material, for example. Yeah. And then brand reputation. Nowadays, industry will use that as sustainable, yeah, sustainability as a selling or a marketing tool, yeah, a strategy, yeah, for them. And they really sell this to show their contribution towards the society and also to the environment. Yeah, as an informed and a well-educated consumers, yeah, you should be able to make decisions if you know that one product has got Energy Star, for example, award, okay, as compared to another product that does not have a labeling, environmental safe labeling, for example. Yeah. So as a good consumer or a consumer that appreciates this and wants to contribute, then you would actually go through, yeah, all these products and do comparison. Yeah, how much energy is being consumed by this product. For example, a refrigerator, a different brand, for example, yeah, this one would only consume a certain amount of watt, for example, per year, and this one as compared to another. So maybe in the past, consumers would be very loyal to a brand. Okay, but nowadays, well-informed consumers will actually compare, yeah, the brand that they are being loyal to, yeah, to other brands that may be newer and can actually offer a better, can contribute better, yeah, in terms of energy consumption, yeah, and all other things. Yeah, okay, and then reduce risk. Yeah, when we do a study on our supply chain and product development, then we try to reduce a risk. Yeah, risk in terms of delivery, risk in terms of material that we use, risk in terms of processes that we deploy, yeah, to develop our product. Yeah. So there are many ways that we can actually approach risk. Yeah. And then increase employee morale. Yeah, if your workers are well informed, yeah, they will be sort of proud, of the initiatives that the company has actually put in place in terms of sustainability. Yeah, that will actually increase their morale, towards the company. And then ethics, yeah, as this is something that you can avoid, yeah, as a manufacturer. You have to follow ethics, ethics in product development, in safety, and all these are just some of the benefits of sustainable supply chain. So we have somehow actually discussed how this actually contribute towards sustainable supply chain. And then where do we start? And yesterday also we talked about how do we start in sustainable product. The easiest or the simplest is to talk about BOL, beginning of life, middle of life. That is just one approach. There may be other design thinking strategies that you may find, or you can come across when you do your reading. But BOL, MOL, and EOL is one of the strategies, one of the approach that you can think of, that you can apply when you talk about sustainable product development. Okay, for sustainable supply chain, we can focus on product design, on the raw material, the manufacturing process, I mentioned this just now, and the energy consumption. Energy consumption could be electricity, basically it's about electricity, about the energy you use to produce your products. You can do energy audit, to know exactly how much is being consumed and how can you actually reduce the use of electricity. I mentioned just yesterday, a simple approach would be if in the past you're using incandescent, and then maybe you can talk about LED now, the use of LED lighting, for example, in your process, to replace that in your products, for example, and then environmental initiatives, it could be looking at based on circular economy, based on targets of the SDG, or also the ESG initiatives by the government. You can also start from there, do a lot of reading, and in this strategies, in this there are a lot of white papers, a lot of how-to, if you read the websites of United Nations, or also World Economic Forum, for example, how to start small and progress. The use of renewable energy is also one strategy. For example, if you have been using electricity or coal, then think about possibility of using solar energy. Maybe focus the use of solar energy for certain sections of the production, for example, to start with. And then reduce waste. We have talked a lot about waste reduction and use of environmentally friendly products. This is important. As I mentioned just now in the slide about working with your suppliers, buy environmentally friendly parts and component or material from your suppliers, which is the green purchasing. So there's a lot of perspectives on sustainable supply chain, and you can actually sort of start from a different perspective. You can start from product design, you can start from the type of material, you can start from the energy that you use in your production. Do you want to continue with non-renewable energy, or you think it is there's a need to move to the use of solar energy, for example? But in order to move, the industry, for example, if they want to actually move, they have to find what are the who are the stakeholders that can assist them. Contoh in Malaysia, for example, if you're talking about the use of energy, how to improve, you can actually go to the Suruhanjaya Tenaga, for example. You can get advice from the Ministry of Energy. We have the Ministry of Environment and Water, for example, if you're talking about, if you want to get support on that. Yeah, they have sort of consultants or officers that can advise. Yeah. I forgot to mention about, I mentioned this yesterday very briefly, about labels. Yeah? Because you want to educate your consumers or your partners, then it's not just being certified, to some standards or ISO standards, for example. Yeah? There are also labels that can actually help to promote your product, to show that it is sustainable to the environment, it is developed based on green practices. Yeah? In Malaysia, we have this label, the so-called My Hijau, My Hijau sticker. Yeah, that is the sticker is managed by another ministry. Yeah, but industries can also go through the Malaysian Green Tech Corporation and Climate Change company. Is a company, is a government arm, under this Ministry of Environment and Water. Yeah, they help industry. They, as I mentioned just yesterday, they organize trainings, for industry. They assist the industry to come for, the My Hijau certification or sticker. Yeah, they have proper indicators and sub-indicators, to sort of recognize company to come under the green initiatives. Yeah? So in Indonesia, I think there are also a lot of initiatives and given by the government. Sometimes the industry must know where to go. Yeah. When I conducted a training for the Malaysian Green Tech within 2 or 3 months, 2-3 weeks ago, yeah, I noticed some of the industry, they are just aware, yeah, when they come to the training on what are the standards, what are the act, what are the initiatives that the government has put into place. And the problem is these initiatives are sometimes not handled, by one ministry. It is under different ministries, and sometimes the industry are not aware, where to go, what is in place, how to go about approaching these ministries. So these are some of the awareness program that these stakeholders or the ministry need to educate the industry. If not, they are left alone. Just to share you my experience when I conducted a training 2 weeks ago in Kota Kinabalu, Sabah. We are sort of excited to talk about manufacturing industry. Manufacturing per se is where you have the input, the process, the output, sort of a full-fledged manufacturing. But there is a small group there, among the participants who are actually cottage industry. They manufacture sort of crepe, food, like biscuits, chocolate biscuits, and so on. So they are quite sort of lost when talking about green initiatives, looking at how to deal with waste. They do not have much waste to deal with. Because they are talking about making biscuits, making crepe, maybe oil. Cooking oil is their waste, maybe. So they want to know how to actually treat this cooking oil, waste used oil. Some knows how to, because they have a sort of a company that comes and collect oil and recycle for them. Some are not really aware on how to dispose. So I wonder, how do they actually dispose their used oil all this while? So don't forget, the point I'm trying to make is, when we talk about supply chain, talking about product design, don't forget that we have many cottage industry or home industry in our country. Yeah, their nature is different, and we may want to have a separate session with them because they are special. Yeah, okay. So cost savings in I put GSCM here was green supply chain, yeah, or green sustainable supply chain. How do you actually produce savings in terms of cost? Yeah? It can be in many different ways. Yeah, it can be through conserving material. Yeah, we use same parts and component again. For example, those which are still durable. So we do not need to manufacture new parts and component every time. Okay, and then reduce energy consumption because we have maybe streamlined our manufacturing process, and we have actually reduced the need for manufacturing or production of parts and component where necessary. Then we are actually reducing energy, the consumption of energy. Yeah, that's one way. Yeah, on how we actually have cost savings. And we reduce water, the usage of water, for example. Yeah, I mentioned a few times about water harvesting. Yeah, yesterday. It could be rainwater, it could be grey water. Yeah, so long as the water is not, it's not a requirement to have high quality water. Yeah, in your production or your manufacturing, then you can actually use reuse this water, so long as they are not contaminated with fecal or E. coli, for example. Yeah? So it's not just about cost saving. It will lead to better public image. Yeah? Nowadays, company will put all these initiatives in their website. Yeah? And decrease environmental liability, create competitive advantage to enhance profitability. Yeah? Access new market. Yeah, some. I remember when I attended this training in Johor Bahru, for the Malaysian Green Tech. A company came and they actually manufacture furnitures, furniture of a medium to high level sort of design, and they export to some countries, and they were asking about some local stickers or labels that they can actually sort of prove to their buyer that they have actually incorporate some green initiatives. I think that is a very good awareness among them, and they want to show that in Malaysia also we have a My Hijau sticker awarded to companies that have attained a certain level of green initiative in their company. So that will sort of allow them to have access to a new market with that recognition. And then it strengthens customer relationship for those who are aware of the society that are aware of sustainable initiatives. And also it helps them to gain competitive advantage. These are some examples. I think I put only 2 examples here, which I got from the website. Walmart, I think we are familiar with this. It is a multinational hypermarket with headquarters in the US. They claim, with initiatives on sustainable supply chain, they use it makes them think and embark on initiative to use 100% renewable energy. Perhaps I think it could be either solar or wind energy. I have yet to read, to go into very detail on this write-up of Walmart, but they claim they use 100% renewable energy, and then they create zero waste. Probably it's recycle or reuse. If it is food, then this can be actually converted into fuel, yeah, a bahan bakar, yeah, and can be used in different industries. And then they use recyclables or biodegradable packaging, yeah. And nowadays, many supermarket, for example, or hypermarket, they use biodegradable plastics, or they offer you to buy reuse bags, yeah. But still in Malaysia, if you want to buy the normal carrier bag, you need to pay like 20 sen, 20 sen, yeah, 20 cents, for example, for using this. It is not recommended, but or not encouraged. Yeah, I notice when I go for to buy things, yeah, groceries, for example, I notice the awareness has improved a lot, and many customers actually bring their own bag, recycle or reuse their own bags. Yeah? So I think that's a very good initiative, yeah, by the society. And then they sell eco-friendly products, yeah? And then increase fuel efficiency in truck fleet, yeah, by 25% over 3 years, and doubling it within 10 years. This is their target, yeah? Fuel efficiency in truck fleet. Maybe they have they improve, yeah, their suppliers, the distance with suppliers, purchase parts and maybe products which are nearer to their premise, yeah, that actually contribute to fuel efficiency. Yeah. Okay. This is an example by Heng Hiap, about Heng Hiap industry in Malaysia. This company I did mention yesterday, but I did not have the details at that time. This is a leading plastic recycling company in Malaysia, yeah, that transforms ocean-bound plastic waste into manufacturable material. Interesting enough, yeah, they half of their raw material, yeah, is actually plastic from ocean. Okay, they also buy from domestic. Okay, they also get from domestic as well as from ocean-bound plastic. And this company was established in 2002 and was the first company, yeah, in the world, yeah, to receive an award, an ocean-bound plastic, yeah, OBP certification, that was co-developed by NGO, Zero Plastic Oceans and Control Union. So it was a big sort of success, yeah, for the company. It appears in the local newspaper and so on, yeah, because there are several other companies that also, yeah, initiated ocean-bound plastic initiative, yeah, but I think they have been very successful in their activity, and they recycle that plastic and come up with products, yeah, in different types of product, yeah. So they collect used ocean plastics and transform them into manufacturable material that are just as good as new, yeah. And these recycled plastics are used in applications like automotive, yeah, construction industry, household appliances, for gardening, etc. Yeah, which includes car bumpers, holders for rear mirrors, yeah, a car, yeah, car seat cover, indoor fire retardant appliance, pallets, containers, baskets. Yeah, you can feel free, yeah, to check their website. There's a lot of information that they actually share. Yeah, as I mentioned yesterday, there's a lot of waste, yeah, plastic waste in the ocean in our country, yeah, in my country at the moment. Besides cigarette butts, I mentioned this yesterday. Imagine how that cigarette butts reaches the ocean, yeah. Okay, and there are plastic carrier bag, plastic bottles, yeah. I think the plastic bottle is one of the highest in terms of quantity of plastic material found in our ocean. Yeah. Okay, barriers in sustainable supply chain. There are, of course, challenges. Yeah, It is not straightforward. It's not just bed full of roses, we call it. Yeah, they go through difficulties. They have to spend. They have to find, get the right people here to think about how to contribute to a supply chain. Yeah, but these are some of the issues. Yeah, some of the challenges in sustainable supply chain. Customer preference. Yeah, customers, if they are well informed, or if they understood, yeah, their contribution to the environment, then they would be able to make better decisions. Yeah? And sometimes when it is cheaper, a customer would think that the quality is low. Yeah. We know that remanufactured component, for example, alternators, starters, engine heads, for example, cylinders, yeah, brake calipers, they are 40 to 60% cheaper, yeah, than a new component. So if I can, as a company that offers remanufactured component, I actually am offering, yeah, good components that perform their function, yeah, at a cheaper price, because I do remanufacturing and I label them as a remanufactured component. The quality is sort of restored. Yeah? But if a customer does not understand what is remanufacturing, what is rebuilt, what is reuse, yeah? What is recon, they may not appreciate that. So some of the initiatives may not be well received by the consumers or the community. Yeah. Okay, this the stigma, yeah, stigma of used components are poor quality. Yeah, that is actually the problem that, or the barrier that we have to face. Yeah, if you are talking about closed loop supply chain. Yeah, supplier adapting to change. So suppliers, yeah, your suppliers, if you sort of insist, yeah, the need for green parts and component. So are your suppliers ready, yeah, to adapt to this? As I mentioned just now, that there are reports saying that the first tier supplier may have problems. It's not, they are aware, yeah, they are aware, but they have problems with their suppliers, yeah, who are not contributing towards sustainability. So for them to sort of enforce this onto their suppliers, it is a problem. It is an issue. Yeah. Okay. So cost of implementation. Yeah. Every initiative, yeah, from the start will require costs. Yeah, would incur costs, because you need resources, yeah, to go back to your drawing board, you go back to your manufacturing process, yeah, how to reconfigure your process and so on. This will take the time, yeah, of your resources, and time would relate to money, to cost. Yeah. So any initiative, yeah, any new initiative would at the start will require some cost of implementation. Yeah. You also need to train, yeah, to educate your staff, your workers, yeah, and work together to think about how to actually contribute towards sustainability. You can start small. Yeah? And then there's no concrete way to measure return on investment. Yeah, you cannot directly sort of calculate, if I were to start this initiative, yeah, what is the return on investment? Yeah? It has to be sort of planned, yeah, and it will take some time, yeah, for you to see the investment, the return on investment for the initiatives on sustainability. Yeah. But if you are working very closely with your suppliers, yeah, your stakeholders like the ministries or universities, then it would be a much faster way, yeah, for you to see or to appreciate what is the return on investment. Yeah? Because different stakeholders will have different expertise and knowledge. Yeah? So industry may not have that awareness, yeah, but with the support of the ministry and academicians, yeah, and the ministry can actually, they have initiative, they have sort of incentives, yeah, that can assist the government, the industry, yeah. For example, the Heng Hiap industry that I mentioned just now, I read somewhere that the ministry under Ministry of International Trade and Industry, they have sort of an arm, yeah, called Matrade, yeah, that is actually trying to help the industry, that Heng Hiap, yeah, industry, to sort of go abroad, yeah, venture into new business opportunities, yeah, because of the success of the company. So with the help of the ministry, yeah, surely the ministry will actually support them, yeah, with perhaps some bearing some costs, yeah, and that will actually assist and sort of motivate, yeah, the company to go further. Okay. There are also a lot of research, yeah, on supply chain that look at risk. Yeah, risk is something you cannot avoid, yeah, in talking about supply chain. Yeah, not forgetting our COVID-19 pandemic, yeah, where there's a lot of movement control order. Yeah, imagine the industry are so affected, yeah, so much affected by this. And that's why some companies were not able to sustain, yeah, after this pandemic. Yeah. So these are some of the risks, yeah, in supply chain that has been addressed, yeah, in some literature and also by the industry. Yeah, risks that can disrupt the supply of goods and services. Yeah. It can be natural disaster. Yeah, natural disaster. Poor demand forecasting. Yeah, there was some problems with demand forecasting, and it was not done properly. Yeah, and fluctuating prices of raw material and energy. This is very common. Yeah, the prices of raw material and energy is fluctuating. Yeah, poor quality of supplies, poor environmental or social performance. Yeah, these are some of the risks in supply chain management. For example, yeah, if you're talking about closed-loop supply chain remanufacturing, poor quality of supply is a very significant risk. When you want to do remanufacturing, you want a product to be of good quality because you want to use it again for the same function and performance. Yeah, but if the product does not come with that level of quality, yeah, for you to reman, then you would end up recycling, disassemble and just recycle, because you know that that product cannot be restored, yeah, and used for the same function. This, I would like to highlight this issue, yeah, that's why it is affecting a lot of remanufacturing company, yeah, to go further because of the inconsistency in the supply of core, yeah, because the core is of poor quality. It cannot be remanufactured. The reason being, in Malaysia, we have been producing cars, yeah, automotive, since the 80s. Yeah, we have Proton, we have Produo, and a few others. Yeah, but this remanufacturing concept, yeah, is very new to these companies. Yeah, they have just started sort of working on this. Yeah, we have the Malaysian Automotive Robotics IoT Institute, yeah, who is actually the custodian of the National Automotive Policy of Malaysia under the MITI, Ministry of International Trade and Industry. They developed this National Automotive Policy, and MITI also developed National Remanufacturing Policy. Yeah, and they have just started to sort of educate this big industry in Malaysia on the benefits of remanufacturing, looking at a possibility of remanufacturing of engines, yeah, automotive and starters. because this company, they can be remanufacturers their own. Yeah, OEMs can be remanufacturers, not necessarily independent remanufacturer. Ideally, yeah, an OEM should be a remanufacturer. Ideally, yeah, because if they do remanufacturing, then they know the problems with remanufacturing. They know the problems with design. They know the problems of a material that they selected for the product in the first place. They know better the product. If they do remanufacturing, they will be more successful as compared to an independent remanufacturer who may not have the original specification of the product. So it's challenging. It is very challenging for them to bring that product to a level that is of original specification or even better. Yeah. Okay, this is risk and uncertainties, which I obtained from a paper. It is the main author is my colleague, Dr. Hauer, who is actually looking at risk in supply chain. Also in this paper is Dr. Niza Royani, which I mentioned just now, is the person who works on reverse supply chain and looking at the materials that we can obtain from remanufacturing and recycling. And from recycling, basically, because it is about material recovery. Yeah. So Dr. Hawi Shamuddin and Dr. Niza Royani, these two, really focus on closed loop supply chain, but Dr. Hauer focuses on risk. Yeah. Okay. So in this paper, they do a review paper actually, and looking at the uncertainties that can happen in closed loop supply chain. For example, in remanufacturing, they focus more on remanufacturing. There is a return rate uncertainties. Yeah, it is a challenge to the remanufacturing industry to ascertain, to know exactly the return rate of components, of parts and component. Yeah, because parts and component were not designed for purpose of remanufacturing in the first place. So it is very difficult for them to sort of be very sure, how much they can receive or what is the incoming parts and component for their remanufacturing. And also, this is not only just in Malaysia, but in worldwide. It has been reported in some countries. It is an issue. Yeah, and then demand uncertainties. This is also a risk or uncertainties in closed loop supply chain. And then supply of quality cost. I mentioned just now that parts and component, if it is from local, we have automotive industry in Malaysia, but they may not be designing their products for purpose of recovery, for purpose of remanufacturing, maybe for purpose of recycling, yes, but for purpose of remanufacturing, maybe they've just started getting awareness and all that, because as I mentioned just now, the Malaysian Automotive Robotics and IoT, they have organized courses on remanufacturing, working with the Standards Industrial Research Institute of Malaysia, SIRIM. Yeah, I think there's a similar body in Indonesia that develops standards. They train the industry on started training, what is reman, because they have the standard in place, they have the policy in place already, but to get the industry to think about how to design for remanufacturing is a challenge, because it involves cost, time, and also knowledge to be for them to understand and to improve. And I've also got to mention that in Malaysia, some of this industry, they are reporting to overseas partners, and sometimes the design is actually developed. Most of the components, they are designed somewhere else, And a lot of the industry in Malaysia, they do assembly, yeah, not so much on design. Yeah, so they have very limited role, yeah, in improving design per se. Yeah, so that is the reason why sometimes it is difficult to get the industry to put initiatives, yeah, on how they design for remanufacturing, how they design for recycling, yeah, how they design product for ease of maintenance. Yeah? That is one of the reason why. Okay, and then cost uncertainties, yeah, because some components may have different damage level, yeah, severity of damage. So there may be more cost to repair, for example, yeah? And then inventory uncertainties, of course, when there is uncertainties in supply and also in demand, yeah? So that will somehow affect inventory. Yeah? Okay.
Excuse me, Professor. It's already 11:45.
Okay.
Yeah, is it still like lots of material or?
I think I can, this is just some additional material, Dr. May.
Okay.
Maybe we can just go through the title.
Okay.
I don't read out the details. Yeah, this is also another suggestion on how to build a sustainable supply chain,
Sure.
which is conduct a supply chain mapping, engage with suppliers. Yesterday, somebody, I think a student, if I'm not mistaken, asked me about how to go about. Yeah, so you have to sort of collaborate, yeah, and engage with your partners, suppliers. Yeah, so this is a suggestion. Set goals and define metrics so that you know whether you have attained or achieved. Yeah, and then use technology. Yeah, there's a lot of technology that can assist. Yeah, for example, to do assessment, use LCA. Yeah. There is also software for inventory management. You can also use IoT or data analytics to do analysis. Yeah, these are all IR 4.0 technology. Yeah, promote collaborative, yeah, networks, because you may have expertise in one area, but you lack expertise in another, necessary for sustainable supply chain. So work together, yeah, and collaborate. Yeah. And then most importantly is a paradigm shift. Yeah, a change in behavior and culture is very important. It has to be enhanced internally, in the organization. Do a lot of monitoring, do a lot of training, yeah, training, and tell them good cases, successful stories, yeah, so that your workers will appreciate and be able to contribute. Yeah. Okay, I think that's about all, Dr. May.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor. I'm really sorry for the.
It's okay, I understand.
Yeah, yeah.
We have to stick to the time, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So is there let's go directly to the question Q&A session.
Okay.
Is there any question from participant? You can raise your hand, or you can either write it on the chat box.
Don't be shy. You can just ask questions.
Yeah. Any question from the participant? If not, maybe I can ask some questions.
Okay. Yeah, please do, Dr. May.
So actually, I was like listening to your presentation before, and then there is where you mentioned about I think the manufacturer needs to kind of like have trade-off between whether they need to make the product that is sustainable, that can be reused or recycled, or they need to make some product that is kind of like highly durable, but then later on have difficulty. Yeah, they cannot be they cannot be reused or recycled, or even manufacturing. So, what do you think this issue? Because I think this is some of the issue that manufacturers have, because they have the principle of they already plan the obsolescence time for their product, right? But then the concept of the circular economy, the concept of this sustainability might then change their principle about that. What do you think about it?
Okay, thank you, Dr. May. I think many years ago, there's a lot of articles saying that if you use composites, for example, yeah, you are causing difficulty in closed loop supply chain because this product cannot be sort of recycled, But when technology advances, there's a lot of demand from consumers, for example, on certain products. Yeah? So the industry cannot sort of stick to just using pure plastics, for example, pure virgin plastics. They have to somehow go into advancement, use advanced formulation. Normally, it is hybrid. Yeah, it is a combination of different material. So yes, it is difficult, but I see a lot of people also talking about how to address this issue. Yeah. So the strategy is to make sure that these parts and component that is being made by composites or hybrid material, they have to be very durable and can be sort of used again, used again as the same material, okay, in another product, for example. Yeah, and it is there needs to be a sort of advancement in technology. Yeah, I noticed that in textile, it is a combination of different polyester, for example, different material. Yeah, so they recycle the textile into something else. For example, if it is clothing, it becomes a rug or a bag after that. Yeah, but there's always a room for recycling of this material. Yeah, and if you're using very durable material, the life is long. Yeah, life is long. It can perform perhaps 2 or 3 life cycles. Yeah, then it's fair that this component be sort of disposed later on. Yeah, in a very safe manner. So it is very important that as a manufacturer, you know where your product will end up. Yeah, whether it's going to be used again, whether it's going to be turned into something else. Yeah, whether you want to extend the life, make sure it is durable. If it is something difficult to recycle, yeah, because the trend now is using composites, using hybrid, because they have a lot of advantage. Yeah, but as a manufacturer and being an ethical manufacturer, you must know how that product ended up one day. Yeah, if it is going to be disposed, it cannot be recycled, then it has to be disposed in a very safe manner. I think that's I can only answer Dr. May because material and formulation is like growing very fast. Yeah, sometimes we do not know the what exactly the composition is. Yeah, so if you want it to be durable, make sure it is durable. Yeah.
So it basically relates to the kind of like manufacturer and how they sort of like improve the technology too, right?
Yeah,
so what kind of material that can be used, because like for example in Indonesia, one of the current trend is to the development of the EV or electric vehicle, but then there's another question regarding the battery life itself, because obviously you can reduce the emission by using the EV, but then after that the battery that is being used is kind of like just disposed just like that. So it creates another problem. Okay.
Yes, that is very true, because I think there's a lot of research now trying to embark on remanufacture and recycling of battery for EV, because you foresee there's plenty going to be reaching end of life. So what do you do with it?
That's true. Okay, let me ask the participant whether they have a question. So you can raise your hand like through the Zoom, or you can just write the question through the chat box. So if there are no questions, let me ask another one. So
okay, sure.
So like because yesterday we talked about the product life cycle and how it related with circular economy, and today we are talking about the supply chain regarding the circular economy. Which one should we prioritize first? Whether let's say, should we manufacture the sustainable product first, then later on we do the sustainable supply chain, or we do both together? Which one should we prioritize first, Professor?
Okay, Dr. May, if you ask me about the importance, yeah, I think both are critical. Both are critical because supply chain, we see that there's a lot of, at least, emission, a lot of emission to the air, transportation, the consumption of fuel, for example, that if we talk about sustainable supply chain, then we address all these issues about fuel efficiency. We don't need that much fuel to be consumed and so on. But if you're talking about a smaller scale implementation, would be quicker. A quicker way is to look at the product. Because sometimes product, when you talk about internal initiative, which is something that within your control, you can start looking at how you actually improve your product. But I mean, if I talk about product development, at the same time, my mind is also telling me that the supply chain is also very necessary. It's crucial for us to sort of address that issue also. Because both actually they are interrelated. And having a good design, a good supplier will contribute towards a sustainable design and supply chain. So, but if you're talking about, for example, our Malaysian Green Technology Corporation, the awareness that they have given the industry so far is more on green initiatives within the organization. They start with that first. And then I think slowly they will also go outside sort of the industry. For example, they advise industry to talk about improving design, material, the use of solar energy, for example, how to harvest rain, and all this, something that is beyond, something that is within the organization, something that is within the control of the organization. I think after this, they will sort of educate the industry about the supply chain. We cannot ignore supply chain, because but we know that supply chain is very sort of affected by a product that you develop in-house.
So according to your like how the supply chain evolved from traditional, then we have the green supply chain, then we have the sustainable ones. Is it possible that, let's say, because some small medium enterprises probably doesn't really think about making a sustainable product, but then they want to learn. So is it possible if they start with green supply chain first, even without the let's say sustainable product? It's possible,
it is.
Right?
Yeah, it is possible. That reminds me the example which I mentioned just now about this cottage industry. You know, that industry sells crepe, all these biscuits. They don't have much waste within that organization. So they highlight used oil. So when you talk about used oil, who is going to collect that oil? Okay, where is it disposed? So that is already the boundary of a supply. Just after going outside of the premise. So yeah, some companies would need to focus more on the supply. That's how they contribute towards sustainability. So you cannot just ignore supply chain. Just talking about product only. If you want to talk about sustainability,
it's like lots of aspect and component. Okay, there is a question from Diana. Professor Zuraida, I would like to ask, how is the influence of sustainable energy to circular economy?
Sustainable energy to the circular economy.
Yes.
The circular economy talks about restorative, and redesigning components and so on. So when you do product development improvement to the design and the process improvement, so surely there would be the need for energy, and this is the the time or the opportunity for us to look at other options, like renewable energy and so on. Some claim that renewable energy is cheaper than electricity. Some said no. Yeah, so it depends, I think, on the application and where it is applied. Yeah, so when circular economy require industry to look back at their design, redesigning product for restoration, for example, then surely when you implement that improvement, it will require consideration on the type of energy that you are going to use. Yeah, so in circular economy, they want to minimize waste. They want to be good to the environment. Yeah, so this is the some of the options, yeah, that we can consider using renewable energy, for example. Did I answer the question?
Miss Diana, is Professor already answer your question? Like, I think yes. Okay.
Because
maybe,
when you talk about product development, you cannot sort of shy away from the consumption of energy and material. Yeah, material, energy it goes hand in hand, you know, when you talk about improving design and manufacturing process.
Okay, thank you, Professor. Another question. Is it easy to adopt sustainable supply chain methodology to SMEs as compared to IDEs, the innovation driven enterprise? So between SME.
Sorry, again, compare SME
and to IDEs, the innovation driven enterprises.
Okay. Okay, when you talk about small and medium industry, normally they would require somebody, yeah, to hold their hands and walk together. Okay, they may have some limited resources, yeah, to actually focus on issues of sustainability, because originally they are for profit making, for generation of income, yeah, and suddenly you are asking them to do something else, which is something that require new knowledge, yeah, going to ask them to do new practices, maybe the need to buy new equipment and technology, for example, yeah. So the industry would therefore, yeah, require sort of a savior, you know, somebody to help them, to assist them, yeah, in going towards sustainability. If a company is driven by innovation, that will be much easier, because all this initiative will require creativity and innovation. Yeah, that's why if you read a lot about industry competitiveness, yeah, they compete in terms of innovation. Yeah, they compete in terms of innovation. It could be innovation in their product. It could be innovation in their process, how they do things. Yeah, so industry, if they are driven by innovation and creativity, they should be able to accept this openly. Yeah, we know that for sure there'll be there's a lot of commitment, yeah, in terms of resources, in terms of budget and so on, time, yeah, because you need to really sit and look at, you know, study, do a business process re-engineering, so-called, yeah, on your product and your process, in order to give you some idea. It's not easy for you to compare yourself to a competitor, yeah, because you may have limited resources, but you have to really sit, yeah, together and work towards that. If there is a need to even work with your competitor, why not? Yeah, maybe we focus on different aspect of sustainability with your suppliers, for example, yeah, because remember the concurrent engineering concept, they promote collaboration and communication even with your competitors, because sometimes your competitor can be a good partner. You can learn from them, yeah, you can do benchmarking with them, yeah, because you need to benchmark to know where to at what level you can be, yeah, your as is now and where you want to be. So I think that's the answer to the question.
Okay, so Sajid Ali, is the answer clear? I think yes. So another question from Yulinda. So she said, I've read several papers state that sustainable supply chain can improve financial performance for SME, for small medium enterprises, even though the implementation require a large amount of cost. What do you think about that?
Okay, if we hear about sustainable supply chain, we are thinking about the implementation cost. Yeah, setting up the team, looking at how you can improve, and you may need, as I mentioned, to buy software, for example. You need to buy some instruments to measure, you know, when you do energy audit, for example, yeah. And then to go back to your drawing, you may need to change some design aspect, yeah. And then that will relate to change of mold or jigs, for example, fixtures, yeah, if necessary, yeah. And then when talking about supply chain, you need to communicate with your suppliers. You have to think about how to improve your mode of transportation, your logistics, yeah. To shift your warehouse, for example, like what some companies did, yeah. At the start, yeah, you will need some sort of resources or budget, yeah, to do that. But in the long run, you will benefit from this implementation because you will reduce a cost in terms of transportation, in terms of fuel, yeah, amount of fuel that you need to spend because your suppliers are far, your warehouse is very far, you know. But when you do this study, you may need to sort of relocate, for example. Things like this will definitely incur costs at the start, but at the end you will benefit. So the problem with this kind of initiative is that there's no direct calculation, you know, to get to see the benefit. But in the long run, the company will benefit in terms of sustainable supply chain initiatives. Yeah. Okay, and then again, also about the product, for example, if you look at you try to improve, yeah, the material, you try to improve the process, yeah, definitely there may be some change in practice, yeah, at the start, but at the end of the day, you may sort of reduce the manufacturing of some components because it is not necessary, because you have do some value add activities, you know, you can combine parts and component, for example, yeah. So this kind of initiative will at the start, as I said, incur costs, but later on, if you do a proper study on how to improve, yeah, your process and your supply chain, then I think you will benefit the industry. That's why in many papers they said at the end of the day, it is a sustainable supply chain will also help to reduce cost. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Professor. Miss Yulinda, is Professor can already answer your question? Sorry. Okay, thank you, Sisei. Okay, the next question from Renee. So what are the alternatives for industry where it's especially harder to embrace sustainable supply chain methodology? So for example, the medical waste industry, so hospital or any healthcare facility might resulted in a lot of like waste, right? And it's quite, how to say it, like infected and sort of that needs more, I think, treatment compared to other.
Yeah, true. Yes, healthcare, for example, is a very unique industry. Yeah, it is different from a manufacturing industry because it is something that at the end of life, the product is something not easily reused, yeah, or recycle, or it cannot be remanufactured and used again because of the nature of the parts and component. Yeah, but there are also work looking at, for example, syringe and so on. They recycle, yeah, And in the healthcare industry, there are a lot of machines and equipment that can be remanufactured. Yeah, that can be remanufactured. A lot of machines, for example, in China, has been remanufactured. Yeah, it is not just automotive or electronics, for example, but also machines. Yeah? I remember being asked by a friend in the Faculty of Medicine, UKM. I was talking about remanufacturing, and he asked me, I have so many machines in my faculty, which are already old. Can I remanufacture them? So I said, of course you can, especially when the machines or the part and component are not safety related, yeah, not safety critical. I mean, even in automotive and aerospace engines, yeah, we remanufacture. Brake calipers, it is a safety related item, but still can be remanufactured if it is done properly. Yeah, but I can understand in the medical, for example, material or cloth, for example, it is something not easy for you to recycle them. It has to undergo some proper treatment, yeah, before it can be recycled. So it is slightly different from the manufacturing. Yeah. So when the manufacturers actually manufacture or design the type of cloth, for example, yeah, or syringe for medical purposes, then they have to think about how best to recycle, yeah, or dispose this kind of material. Yeah. So if try not to dispose, okay, try to think of options of at least to recycle. Yeah. Treat them and then properly, yeah, clean them, then use it again for a different purpose. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, she said, Rene said, understood. Thank you very much, Professor Zuraida.
Thank
Okay,
you.
is there any more questions from a participant? Because if there are no more questions, maybe I can conclude this session. Is that okay, Professor Zuraida?
Yeah.
So,
Dr. May, is it possible for us to take photos, Dr. May?
Yeah, after this, we will have a photo session. Please, everyone, don't leave the room first. We will have the photo session later on after I conclude this session. Okay, so these 2 days webinar series from Professor Zuraida, basically talking about the sustainable product design and supply chain to achieve the circular economy. And it is actually a homework, yeah, for all of us, and it needs commitment for every stakeholder, everyone, to be able to basically later on achieve the so-called circular economy. And in product design, we need to starting to shift from 3R to 6R, later on probably 9R or whatever the next trend and the next technology would be. And then we also learned today about the supply chain and several factors that basically will affect both in product design and the supply chain to the circular economy, including the pushing factor like the SDGs, the ESGs, and then we also will need consistent policies, I think, yeah, from the government and a lot of collaboration between stakeholders, including the corporate responsibility, I believe, and also a good culture, good attitude, and good behavior. We need to have the paradigm shift. Previously, Professor Zuraida also mentioned that, because we have some sort of barrier to achieve that. And I think I hope I already concluded quite well for this 2 days session.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Zuraida. And I will return this back to Kinan as the MC for today. Okay,
Dr. May, can I say something, Dr. May?
Yes. Oh, sure.
All right. I think before we end, I would like to thank the department for inviting me to share, some information which I know about sustainable product design and supply chain. I hope we have actually learned from each other. I also learned from you, from your questions, and hopefully, knowledge which I shared is mendapat keberkatan, dan dimanfaatkan oleh everyone to hear today. Thank you so much. for inviting me. If there is any shortcomings, I would like to apologize. Yeah, not the good things are from me, and the good ones are from God. Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
MashaAllah. Thank you so much, Professor Zuraida. And later on, I think Professor will be able to send the material for today so that I can share it
I
with
will.
the participant. Okay, please, Kinan.
All right. Thank you so much once again, Professor Zuraida and also
Yeah.
Dr. May for the
Welcome.
beautiful sessions. And before we close this session, there will be a documentation session, hoping all the participants able to turn on your camera and show your beautiful smile to the camera. And then one of our committee will help you to get the photo like Professor Zuraida said before. So before we close, okay, so we still have one slide that haven't turned on their camera. So please do so we can have a beautiful frame. Okay. Okay, we still wait for the others. Okay. So for the others, please do turn on the camera so we can see your beautiful smile to close this session. Okay. Okay, I think we can do the first slide first. Yeah. So I will count it from 1 to 3. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, for the second slide, show your beautiful smile. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, now the last slide. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So thank you so much for your beautiful smile. Alhamdulillah, we come to the end of today's webinar. I hope that you can get the benefits, experience, and understanding about this webinar. And I am the master of ceremony this morning. I apologize if there are any mistakes. And thank you so much for joining webinar series IUP Industrial Engineering, University Islam Indonesia 2022, and your nice attention. And I would like to remind you once again, guys, and for those who have not do the presents, to be able to access it on the link attached on the chat box, because of the present is used for our e-certificate purposes, and the certificate will be sent through your email within a week. And for information, you can reach out our social media so you can see the information regarding the certificate and also the price that I mentioned in the first opening. So there will be a price and will be announced on our social media also. And thank you so much. Wa akhirul kalam, unzur mangkola wa la tanzur mangkola. Wasikum wa nafsu bitaqullah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Thank you, Mr.
wabarakatuh.
Kinan.
You're welcome, Professor.
Thank you so much, Professor Zuraida.
Most welcome. Thank you, Dr. May, and everyone.
Welcome to Yogyakarta. Welcome to Universitas Islam Indonesia, a city with thousands of stories, a university with precious histories, a city with captivating cultures, a university with wisdom and values. This is the place where all dreams and hope are conquered with the basis of Islamic values, valuable knowledge, science, independency, maturity, and friendliness towards its objection to perfection, being the part of global community. Welcome to International Program, Department of Industrial Engineering, Faculty of Industrial Technology, Universitas Islam Indonesia. International Program Undergraduate Program was established in 1999 under Department of Industrial Engineering, Faculty of Industrial Technology, Universitas Islam Indonesia as responsive response for challenging global competition. A place with international exposure, distinguished lecturers, and sophisticated learning atmosphere. A place where ideas and thoughts are actualized to tremendous design, outstanding research, and remarkable products as its contribution to environment and global community. This study program is accredited A from the National Accreditation Board and AUNQA certified for its curriculum. Teaching and learning processes, research and community service have been equipped with various adequate facilities and laboratories. There are 6 laboratories: Integrated Manufacturing System Laboratory, Organizational Innovation and Development Laboratory, Enterprise Resource Planning Laboratory, Work System Design and Ergonomics Laboratory, Data Mining Laboratory, Modeling and Industrial Simulation Laboratory. These laboratories provide students with skills and specialties in product planning and control, as well as production floor management, designing, producing, assembling products, calculating inventory and the number of workers, scheduling, implementing product control, and others. This laboratory focuses on areas of industrial systems innovation and management, such as corporate design analysis, organizational development, marketing system design, and business feasibility study. This laboratory provides skills and specialties about enterprise resource planning. The learning process is supported by the SAP system and has been a part of the SAP University Alliance since 2005. The SAP University Alliance provides opportunities for students to access learning materials, participate in SAP academic forums, and certification of participation that is recognized nationally and internationally. This laboratory provides skills and specialization in the application of work system design application concepts in order to achieve a certain level of productivity, ergonomics, and aspects that influence it, especially psychological and environmental aspects. The laboratory focuses on analyzing and designing a work system and/or work tool to be ergonomic, safe, comfortable, and healthy. This laboratory provides skills on the use of various methods of multiple criteria decision-making, data mining, and statistics to solve problems in the industrial world. Modeling and Industrial Simulation Laboratory provides skills and understanding of the definition of models, types of models, to create simulation based on real systems. The International Program of Industrial Engineering has maintained and expanded the international collaboration as the effort for the global acknowledgement to provide students with global experiences, exposures, and mobility. The program has also worked with big companies in Indonesia and abroad. Students are also accommodated with international certification to develop student skills to achieve designated expertise. International program exposes students with international experience, culture, and environment as a part of global community. As a sustained effort to sharpen students' capability in certain expertise, the internship is represented as the program that could fulfill the curiosity of a real-life working environment. Community of international students is established to encourage students with soft skills, organization, and teamwork activities. All activities in the international program are beautifully framed under the noble Islamic values with the ultimate guidance of Al-Quran and Hadith.
International Program Industrial Engineering.
Be smart
Be agile
and be global.